There's an extra thing that I have to do.
I gotta wake up, dude.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. We're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. It's been a long time coming. We've probably talked about this in various forms on the show at least 5 times, including a special preview when the first trailer came out. But now the movie's actually available, and some of us braved the theaters during the pandemic to see it. This show's Trevor, joining me as usual is.
Hey guys, it's Prague.
This is Josh.
Surprise, surprise! I didn't see the movie. This is DeLorean Wolfgang.
DeLorean stayed home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, there was an extra voice in there.
There was?
Was that Clint?
Was that...
It's me, Clint. I'm back.
They swapped. It's like the alternate reality version.
I'm a little
Multiverse
champ,
confirmed.
you know.
Man, I tell you what, it almost was like it flowed perfectly, like you had never left.
Yeah.
You know, I've been listening to the episodes, so I just kind of insert my name every time. So
That's what it is.
practicing.
It's in the universe. It's in the
I know
universe.
today I was just practicing. I was like, hey, Josh. Okay, got it.
He's got it. Well, it's good to have you back. I think it's fitting for this movie to have you back here. Feels nostalgic.
Who's
back
Hugh?
home.
You as
Sorry,
in
bad
Josh.
joke.
I mean,
Bad
oh.
joke.
No.
I'm sorry. My fault.
It's
I'm sure
okay.
there was better jokes in the movie that I didn't see. How was it, guys?
We should probably do some spoiler-free reviews here of
Yeah, if you're brand
Spider-Mans.
new, we at the Secondary Heroes like to offer a spoiler-free take in the first few minutes, and then we're going to tell you, we're going to dive into spoilers, and we're going to spoil every single aspect of this movie. And there's a lot to spoil. So keep that in mind.
I'm wondering if I should just stick around for the spoiler-free and then bail.
You probably should.
You probably should, dude. Like, the whole movie is a spoiler. So
Well, I mean, this movie literally needs to come to Disney Plus because I'm not going to any theater right now.
yeah,
It's crazy out here in California, and I'm not
It
going
is.
to a theater. I'm not going to brave it. I'm sorry.
Luckily, a lot of people disagreed with you, and it turns out this movie can't single-handedly save the theaters, but it made $253 million in the opening weekend in the North American domestic box office, which is the second biggest opening of all time, of any movie, regardless of pandemic, only behind Avengers Endgame, which is insane when you do think of the pandemic constraints.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
insane.
now, left
It
and
is
right.
insane.
Kind of.
I don't think I could
Yeah.
stress that enough. It's insane.
And deservedly so.
I'll keep wearing
Ooh.
my mask. I'll keep being safe. But-
Okay. Well, let's do that. We can do a spoiler-free review, and then you can dip and
No.
go to bed early if you
Because
want
it's
to.
going to be so long before this movie comes to Disney Plus. I'm going to forget everything you guys said.
All right.
Well,
Just like our audience does right once they turn off our podcast.
Aw. No, they love us.
No.
So-
All right.
Yes.
I mean, I'll go first because I
Okay.
can sum it up in 4 words pretty easily. They pulled it off.
Nicely done. All right. That's yours. Josh, you want to go next?
Oh, that was a good one, Trevor. But yeah, I mean, it was good. I don't know how to explain it without spoiling it. It was, I guess, I don't know. I think I have a new favorite Marvel movie.
Wow.
Favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that a lot on Twitter, that this has now become everybody's favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's
A lot happens in this movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I'm
favorite.
about to listen to you guys tell me everything about it. So
So for
Yeah.
me, those are great takes. Yeah, I think they pulled it off is a great summation because this is not something that's easy to pull off. Just like how Endgame was, it was the same kind of feeling you got watching Endgame. Like, oh my gosh, they are pulling this off, and it's working so well. And that was this entire movie from the opening frame to the last frame of this film. Whereas Endgame, it was just, the last half of the big battle, in my opinion. But this was the whole movie. So it definitely surpassed that movie for me.
wow.
I don't know where it's going to rank for my favorite Spider-Man films because I love Into the Spider-Verse so much. Like it's such a fun movie. So I'll wait and see if it surpasses that. But it was, in my opinion, probably the quintessential Spider-Man movie, if that would make any sense. Like if you've watched the movies and read the comics like this, like it felt like a love letter to Spider-Man, who is like the biggest superhero in the Marvel universe. So yeah, I think it did it all really well, and it was a lot more emotional than I expected it to be. I thought maybe a few moments would be, but that was waterworks the whole movie. So there's my review.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm curious. So I know that we were just mentioning the movie theaters and the pandemics. What was you guys' experiences in before we get into our full spoilers?
That's a good take. No, it's good. So I saw it yesterday as a matinee, and it was sold out completely.
Oh my God, a matinee?
Oh, everything was sold out. The whole weekend's been sold out for.
I guess
weeks.
that's true. I mean, $250,000 on a $1,000,000.
So it was crowded.
Was like per theater, yeah.
That was perfect.
Yeah, it was crowded, and then the audience. I mean, this was several days after the premiere. The audience was still just as rowdy as I've seen them on opening days at these kind of movies. Like they're hooting, hollering, laughing, clapping, cheering. It was amazing. Like people were just excited to be back in theaters. I'm sure this was the first time for a lot of these people. I know it was for me. It's been probably 2 years since I saw my last movie.
For me, it was March 2020. I saw Onward. That was the last
insane,
movie.
Right? And for me, like, I think part of the reason why I got so emotional during the movie was that like I'm back in theaters. Like I miss this. I miss that feeling of like watching a fun movie like this with a community. Just the size and scope of the screen and the Dolby surround sound and the smell of popcorn and all that stuff. Like it just hit me like, wow, I miss this. So it was great to be back in theaters. I don't know when the next time will be, but that was great.
And what about you guys?
I mean, for me, I live in a part of the world where they don't go to the movies for someone. Like I live in Southern California. I live in Ventura County, but people just don't go to the movies. I went on Thursday at 4 p.m, and the theater was maybe just under half full. And then I went on Sunday at noon over in a different part of Southern California, and we got tickets on Friday. So it's not like it was any big deal. I have no idea. I'll think it, but it was weird. I have a bias and a weird. Like everyone else said, it was super busy and super sold out. So I'm just unfortunate.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be like them opening it up on other screens too, like noticing that it was selling out. So they were like, let's bump this.
A lot of theaters just took everything else off, and they're like, it's going to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, what else is there to even go up against at this point? Like right now, Spider-Man's kind of the biggest thing. I mean, it is the biggest thing that anybody's talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, until The Matrix comes out, which is going to
take their
own Spider-Man.
Right, we'll see. All right, Josh, you didn't tell us about your
mine was kind of similar to how everybody's talking. It was pretty packed. I mean, I went on a Saturday morning at 10:30 in the morning.
Oh,
so it was. There's probably maybe like a seat or two open, but it was packed, and I think it's kind of like what you're saying, Prague. You know, people that's their first movie coming back out of the pandemic, and for me, that's how it was for me, and it was a great one to come out too. You know, the only thing is that are we going to see another movie similar to that in the future anytime soon? I don't know. So maybe my visits to the theaters won't be until April for the new Fantastic Beast. That's probably it.
See, I think that's the thing that I worry about a little bit too, is with this movie. I mean, if this movie, it sounds like it's upping the game. Like we went from Infinity War, where it was like, wow, this is incredible. Then we got Endgame. Endgame blew us all out of the water. We thought this is the pinnacle. You can't top this. Now people are saying this Spider-Man is going to be top of their list. How is Disney, how is Marvel going to top any of this stuff?
It's going to be madness. I don't know.
Not only that, it was a reminder for me just that I don't know if any other studio can get fans literally cheering when they reveal things on screen.
Not too many, but maybe Star Wars.
Yeah.
I've seen that with Star Wars, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they recreated Endgame. You know, that's the thing is you feel good to feel that emotion in a movie. You know, you've waited so long to kind of have that recreated. Black Widow wasn't going to do it. I haven't seen Shang-Chi, so I can't speak for that. But anything
And
else beyond that, it's
Yeah.
tough.
that's funny that
Sure.
you brought up Shang-Chi, because I was hearing there was so many people on Twitter talking about how Shang-Chi was now their top favorite Marvel movie. And then obviously then Spider-Man was released, and
Mhm.
now everybody's talking about Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
I have yet to see Shang-Chi, but I definitely want to see it just so I can, get
Mhm.
back into the motion of all this Marvel stuff all
Get
over
back
again.
into it.
Yeah.
Do it. So it's worth it. I liked it. I liked the movie a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I guess I
Anyway.
should stop being so enamored with Hawkeye right now and actually go watch some of the other Marvel stuff.
right, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Well-
Should we do some
Yeah, let's do some
Shout-outs?
socials. How about that? So,
Yeah.
hey, if you want to check us out, you can find, well, if you're listening to us right now, you kind of already know, but you can find us over on Cross the Streams Media, or crossthestreamsmedia.com. That's
Okay.
going to give you every one of our episodes. You can leave voicemails. You can do all kinds of stuff over there. We've got a bunch of other podcasts as well. Really great shows. They really hit every number of things. Which is fantastic. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're obviously looking at our beautiful faces. Please like and subscribe, because it helps us and it helps the YouTube algorithm get us to more people who like Spider-Man and like the stuff that we like, I guess. So yeah, all of that is Cross the Streams Media. If you don't want to go to crossthestreamsmedia.com, check us out on any social platform except for Snapchat and all that stuff. I don't know. Do people still use that? We're at Secondary Heroes
Yes, apparently.
everywhere. Oh no, I was thinking TikTok. TikTok is the big one that everybody's using, and we don't. Yeah, we're a bunch of old men. It's
We
all
don't use Snapchat or TikTok, and they both do insane business.
good. Crazy.
What do we know?
We
What
don't
do
like
we
the
know?
popular ones, we just, the mediocre ones we're good with.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't
we like the
access my
old people
MySpace
ones.
though. Something's up with that. I gotta talk to MySpace.
I
and see how to
actually-
get on there again.
I just heard the Dorksmen are on MySpace, and I'm like, maybe we should get
There's
on
no
MySpace
such
too.
thing. That's a joke.
I
That's
don't
a
know,
joke.
man. I'm gonna check it out. I need to look
All
it
right.
up. Anyways,
Well, thanks for
all
the
of
socials.
this is free for you. It's priceless to us.
Yeah.
Let's get
Let's
back to the
dive in.
show.
Okay, so if you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, we are going to spoil the movie extensively starting now. So come back to listen to us later. Whatever, you can blow full steam ahead. I'm be amazed if you're able to dodge all the spoilers online at this point.
Right.
Kudos to you.
Mm-hmm.
I actually seeked them
Yeah.
out. This week I actually
It's
went
a
ahead and
purpose.
I just was like, screw it. I'm gonna go seek out the spoilers, because it was so annoying listening to people go, don't spoil the movie. It's like, dude, come on.
Come on.
So I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna look it up. And I did. And I liked what I saw. So I have a feeling
you
I'm gonna
go.
like what you guys are gonna tell me about this movie.
So Prague and Josh, where do you guys want to start? Like, I want to do highlights of the movie, but
Sure.
I don't necessarily go right to the conclusion. So
Oh,
how big do we want to start? Because this movie's all intertwined. Honestly,
so
Yeah.
much
the biggest,
to talk about.
most impressive thing is that somehow they turned every failure into this. If they didn't fail multiple times, this movie doesn't exist and doesn't mean
Mhm.
as much.
That's
That's
for
what's so
sure.
impressive.
Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway, because this is going to be, I think the big spoiler we should just tell off the bat here. And the big spoiler is that they got back the old Spider-Man back into this movie, which everyone was kind of speculating was going to happen because of all the
Yeah.
leaks online. So we got Tobey Maguire and we got Andrew Garfield. So that was the kind of the big to do. And even with the other villains as well that came in that we already knew about because we saw that in the trailer, like they could have easily shoehorned all of that in for like the last 10 minutes as like a fun little gag, like ha ha hi. And it wasn't. It was like half the movie was them and their
Yeah.
characters.
Awesome.
And every one of those actors, in my opinion, brought their A game and acted their butts off. And it was phenomenal. I was like, oh my God, like they're not phoning this in. Like they brought to the table like their best acting abilities. And it was amazing to see. So I just want to get that out of the way.
Does
Yeah,
that
no.
include Andrew Garfield too? Because I know that he
Yes.
had a really
Yeah.
sour taste in his mouth after he left.
Yeah. Oh, he was gung ho for it. And it was great.
Mhm.
So
I
it
mean,
doesn't seem that
personally,
way unless he was
Yeah.
acting.
I feel like Andrew Garfield did the best. Like
Yeah, I
to
do
Prague's
too.
point, everybody did an amazing job, but I feel like Andrew Garfield did the best of everybody on screen of nailing where he's coming from what we saw in Amazing Spider-Man and fitting within this
Mhm.
whole multiverse.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
100%.
Everybody
with
took
that.
advantage of their second chance from
Yeah.
that Amazing Spider-Man series. It was just I didn't care for Jamie Foxx's character
Right.
originally. I
Same.
grew to love it this one. Andrew Garfield didn't care for his Spider-Man acting, but he redeemed himself here. I think the way
Nice.
that he took the punches to how people, made fun of the second trilogy
Right.
or
That's a
Unfinished
really
trilogy.
good call. Yeah,
So-
that's
Yeah.
a really good call.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
there's a lot of in jokes there too about that that they
Mhm.
played off that worked really well too. So, like, you're
Interesting.
amazing was a great line.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite
I'm a
lines.
lame Spider-Man. He's like, compared to you guys, because he's like, I fought an alien from space, and he was like this black goo guy, and then Tom Holland's like, oh yeah, I fought an alien here and in space. He's this big purple guy, and he's like, oh, I haven't done anything.
It was great. A lot of comedy, a lot of good comedy.
That's pretty
A lot of
cool,
good
man.
comedy.
Mhm.
So there's another thing I want to get off because I will forget if I don't, because it happens right away. Like, this movie's long,
Mhm.
but it also speeds by very quickly. But almost, I want to say, like, less than 10 minutes into the film, we get our first surprise cameo, which is
yeah.
Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock
Mhm.
for
Yes.
Daredevil. Just shows up, like, just out of nowhere. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
like during an interrogation scene or something like we thought. He was just sitting in their house and they panned the camera to him.
They
And,
showed
yeah, the whole
the
theater went
walking
nuts.
cane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as they showed the walking cane,
You
I was like,
knew.
I know
everybody
who
in
it
the
is.
crowd goes crazy.
Now, didn't we speculate that he was going to be in this from the trailer?
Yes.
Okay,
Like if he was
so
there
it wasn't
in the
like
interrogation room. Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay.
But he was not. He just ended up being in a meeting.
Yeah,
with
because he
them.
wasn't. So what they did was, like, that scene happened, and you're like, oh, I guess he's not going to be in this movie. And then the next scene was the other scene where he shows up.
Yeah.
So they kind of like thwarted your expectations a bit, which is kind of fun.
And this was the Netflix,
Mhm.
Yes,
Netflix
the
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness! So they're pulling from everything now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
Yeah.
this is really fascinating.
it's
Yeah,
kind of fun.
I like that they're hooking you with just enough nostalgia from other movies and stuff like that to
And the funny thing is, I put on Netflix yesterday, and trending now in like the third spot was Daredevil, and I was like,
Of course. Of course.
Hmm. Wonder
I might have
why.
to give it a try. I might have to
Might
watch
as
that
well.
now.
You should. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I think there were some issues with the second season, but I really enjoyed the first and third a lot. So
Mhm.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I would forget probably.
Well, no,
There's so
That's
much that
just a
happens.
great, yes, and that's
That's
such a small one. Like we know
Yeah.
the big ones.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
when they started that, I was only imagining, okay, if they're willing to bring in him, who else
Yeah,
are they
you're
willing
like,
to bring
okay.
in? And that kept my interest peaked every single scene that was coming up. Somebody's gonna pop up. Somebody's gonna pop up. So,
Right.
I mean, it was a great start to the movie.
Well,
Yeah,
now
and
do you
this-
guys feel like you might have missed a cameo just in the background just because like there's so much going on? It seems like there's so much going on. Do you feel like there could be stuff that you may have missed?
Oh, for sure. This movie was packed to the brim with Easter eggs. Like, there's
Yeah.
so
I
much
know.
going on all the time. Like, I'm sure I missed
Mhm.
like hundreds, if not thousands.
And especially because I've been spoiled now watching movies at home where you can just pause it.
Yeah, and be like,
Right.
oh, is that
and be
well,
like,
that
oh,
looks
wait,
like
wait.
something. Right?
Well, like when we
So,
watched
yes.
Loki, when we were talking Loki, there was
Mhm.
that scene where he goes to the planet with
Same
all
thing.
of
Right.
the stuff, like everything. So, and that's what I'm feeling like is happening with this movie.
Yeah, and I think a
Sure
lot of
it
people
is.
might rewatch this in theaters for that reason. So I
Yeah.
think it'll stay pretty good number wise at the box office for a while.
Mhm.
So, anyways, what I was going to say is that the movie does start off with a bang. Like, you kind of hit the ground running, which I really enjoyed. It
It
was
picks
fun
up
watching
right where
them.
Far
Oh,
From
yeah.
Home left off.
Yeah, right there.
Exactly.
It's really cool. I like that. And then they swing through, the crowd and the sewers and everything in the underground. So that was fun. I enjoyed that part.
Now, did they bring back Jake Gyllenhaal?
He does.
Technically, no. I mean, they
Okay.
did for that one scene in the very beginning where he says, "Then Peter Parker is Spider-Man."
Yeah, that
And, like,
recorded
that's-
clip from.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
But he's dead. So
Well, because I mean, they brought back people from other universes. I mean,
right.
they're in their current universe, so he's not
Right.
gonna show up.
Cool. So
Zach.
how do you guys want to do this? I'm excited to hear more about this movie.
I mean, we can. The one kind of overarching thing is that it played so much with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield that I was like, okay, are they building the Sinister Six? Are we going Sinister 6
Mhm.
instead of starting from scratch? Here's a new Doc Ock and here's a new Green Goblin. We go with these established characters that people know. And then I was like, well, there's Vulture. He's already in Tom Holland's universe.
Right.
And they just only stuck with the 5 bad guys the entire time from previous films. They didn't do anything connected to Tom
Right.
Holland besides Tom Holland being in the film.
Yeah. for sure.
Interesting.
Well, unless you count the tree, which could be the 6th member that they got.
That's true.
It might be sentient. You never know.
Mhm.
Dormant for right now. Maybe it was winter. It was like, maybe his powers come out during the summer. Who knows? Anyways, but it was cool because like we actually did get a Sinister Six kind of movie though. Like, you know, we've been thinking about this, and Sony has been trying to do this for the last decade, was to try to get all these villains together to have a Sinister Six movie. And in a way, we kind of got that, you know, in the third act. So that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that a lot, actually.
I mean, just to have a live action Into the Spider-Verse. I
Yes.
mean, that's the entire time I'm watching. I'm like, the live, like, Spider-Verse is amazing. The animation style makes it uniquely itself, but I still want to see that in live
real
action,
life.
and that's what they
Yeah.
did.
Not real life, but yeah, in live action. Yes.
Live-
Yeah, if it weren't for that film, I don't know if they would have greenlit this idea as much. Like, I think that was like a test for them, and it did so well. They're like, all right, cool, we're gonna do this big storyline then. Let's just do it. Audiences like that; they're cool with it. They understand it. You know, it's not
And now
confusing to people.
Officially confirmed the multiverse. It's funny because in No Way Home, Peter says to Mysterio, wait, there's a
Yes.
multiverse, and it's all fake. It's just a complete lie. Now he says the exact same line, and Doctor Strange is like, yes.
And he's like, wait, it is real?
So, what I keep hearing about a lot is, I mean, everybody else. There's not a lot of talk about Doctor Strange. Where's Doctor Strange in this whole story?
No, Doctor Strange is a key part. He plays the Tony Stark mentor role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
Yeah,
Home
kind of
Help.
father figure in this, I
Yeah.
would say.
Gotcha.
No, he's very crucial. I mean, I would think that a lot of people were expecting him to be like Mephisto or an evil version of himself in this film because the trailer kind of hinted at that in a way because he was acting kind of strange,
Right.
stranger than usual. But no, it just turned out that that's his character. Like in the comics, like he's just kind of mischievous in ways, you know, like he has this power. He's kind of cocky, and this kid that he really likes and admires wants to, you know, wipe the memory of everybody that knows him. Yeah, sure, why not? Kind of a thing, you know. So it's not
Doctor
always too
Strange,
worried.
Yeah,
he's such an interesting character.
Yeah.
Just the idea at the end, Spider-Man is literally still doing his street level stuff. That's what Spider-Man is. He's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You know, you can send him to space, you can bring him from different multiverses, but he's still fighting regular guys. And Doctor Strange is literally holding the fabric of the multiverse together. Spider-Man's busy fighting the guys on the ground level, and Doctor Strange is doing such important stuff, and it doesn't matter because he's just up. I don't think people still comprehend what Doctor Strange is capable of.
Sitting there using all of his might and power to hold together all the universes in existence. And Spider-Man's just whipping around, having fun with his bros.
Now, is there any kind of tie to like the What If series or the Loki series or anything like that? Is there? I mean, I know that. Well, I'll let you guys just talk.
So the one kind of key part is Doctor Strange messes up a spell because Peter's super indecisive. That's the problem. Peter just doesn't really know what he wants because he's a teenager and he has all these different conflicting interests. So Doctor Strange messes up the spell and he self-contains it, but then it gets loose because the Green Goblin actually blows up the self-contained thing. And so all the different people who know who Peter Parker is across every single infinite universe is trying to come through. And with that, once it starts rippling in the sky, there's that big bang that you see in Loki when Kang doesn't know, or what He Who Remains doesn't know what happens after this point. There's that same big bang, and then there's flashes of purple lightning, just like you see all around the end of Loki.
Yep.
I feel like they're doing that a lot.
It's the moment in time, but a lot of things are happening at once. Wanda messed up with it. and then Loki messed up with it, or Sylvie messed up with it. Now Doctor Strange and Peter have messed up with it. It's all the same inflection point. We're just seeing it from different angles.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, in a way, is what Sylvie did was kind of almost create multiple timelines as well based off those, universes.
Right.
And now it's being cracked open. So fun. A lot of fun's going to be happening in the future. That's for sure. But let's get to the crux of this, because this is like what I said earlier. This is Spider-Man's story. Like, it's such a Spider-Man story. Like, all of his themes and all the books that I've read growing up, like, this felt like it hit all those themes so well. Because what he wanted was that the idea is that he wanted to get into MIT with his friends and his girlfriend. That's what he wanted. And none of them could, because he's public enemy number one, and they didn't want that on their record. They didn't want these, people.
Hooligans.
Yeah, hooligans, pretty much, yeah. In their school, in this prestigious school. And he thought that wasn't fair, that his girlfriend and his friend could be denied admission to their future. Like, this is their future. They don't have superpowers or anything. Like, yeah, they need their own future. So he thought it'd be best if they forgot that he was Spider-Man. That's why he did the spell to begin with. So that would have solved a lot of problems.
It's
but then,
definitely
he got
a Peter Parker thing, because that's what was so interesting about this movie. Because after the second time I watched it, I was like, the first time you're just kind of overwhelmed by everything.
It's a lot.
And that's why I wanted to watch it a second time. And so then I'm like looking at the movie, and to Prague's point, it's an amazing Spider-Man movie, but I don't know if it's a good Peter Parker movie. And that, like, it's
even if there's 3 Peter Parkers,
it's just not about Peter Parker. It's about Spider-Man. It's always about the sense of Spider-Man, the duty of Spider-Man, and how that overwhelms the life of Peter Parker, no matter what it is. That's the whole moral that Peter always goes through. And as you're going through it, it's so much action. It doesn't have time for him to really digest the meaning of what he's doing. There's like the general things of, I have the moral obligations to help these people regardless, because that's what we do. We're Spider-Man, we're heroes, we save the day. But it doesn't really dive deep into that. And that's when you get into the whole, well, it's not really a Peter Parker story. It feels more like an Avengers movie, just because it felt like an Avengers movie. It doesn't feel like a Peter Parker, because usually in the comic books, Peter has to deal with going to high school and keeping his reputation intact, that he's not Spider-Man. That's his whole thing in every single comic book. He doesn't just have to fight bad guys. He has to do
the dirty work,
keeping his identity intact. And so that's thrown out the window from the very start, from the end of the last movie. And so now we just have this Avengers level, all kinds of things are going on. I have to fight 5 super powered people. I have 2 additional super powered people to help me. So there's just all these super powered stuff going on. It doesn't have a time to be just a high school kid.
Yeah, but it's
not a bad thing. It's
no,
just
right.
what happens when you have this movie's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and they have a lot to do. It doesn't have time to really dwell on.
Yeah, I want to say if I had any complaint about the movie, it was that aspect that he didn't have time to digest that, like that meaning behind all of that. Because there was too much going on for him, unfortunately. Now, the good thing is that at the end of this movie, it really does set up that kind of movie going forward, because now that, I don't know if we mentioned this, but at the very end, he decides to basically sacrifice his identity. So now no one will know who he is, to save the universe, to close the gapes in reality. No one's gonna know who he is, even his girlfriend, everybody, even Doctor Strange.
On the flip side,
maybe
the original spell was to forget Spider-Man. Now he wants everyone to forget Peter Parker.
Right.
And that's just, so now MJ doesn't remember him, Ned doesn't remember him, like Prague said, Doctor Strange doesn't. So all the things, it's really an interesting bisecting point, because from Marvel and Sony's standpoint, it allows them to go ahead and make a Spider-Man movie without Tom Holland, which is really interesting. And then from the actual storyline they presented us, it gives Peter that decision of It's a Wonderful Life, where he gets to see how things are better for other people without him. And he makes the presumption that, it is better. And you can't make that choice for other people. And so having MJ have to tell him specifically, come back, no matter what you think, and then he still doesn't. It's classic Peter.
It really is. Yeah, kind of I don't know, interesting, sad ending to the movie in a way, but also kind of a hopeful one, I guess. I don't know. But what it does, what I was trying to get to is that since it's now going to be a clean slate for Peter Parker, we're going to get probably more straightforward, traditional Spider-Man type stories where he is going to be probably working at the Daily Bugle possibly and going to college and doing those kind of things on the side. And he'll be in the big city now. He won't be in Queens anymore. So he'll be flipping through the high, the big high rises and stuff and saving people and skyscrapers and all that kind of stuff. And
but you're saying
the mean streets.
This might not be with Tom Holland anymore.
That's not necessarily what he's saying. He's saying that there opens up the possibility of other.
It gave him an out.
Spider-Man. It does give him an out, but he already signed contract, so he's stuck there for until he's 30, I believe.
Yeah, I was about to say that I saw on Twitter earlier that I guess Sony and Disney are coming together again and saying, "Hey, let's keep this gravy train. Let's keep this gravy train going, man."
It's more the quote by Tom Holland where he says. So he's 25 years old, and he says, if I'm still doing Spider-Man by the time I'm 30, I messed up somewhere in my life. And so he doesn't want to keep doing this. That's not just like a denial. That's a very visceral opinion of, I do not want to do this anymore. And so they set up the avenue that already Spider-Verse exists. And so Peter Parker doesn't have to be a Spider-Man. There is the radioactive spider in every different timeline who couldn't be Miles Morales. It can be Gwen Stacy. It can be anybody. People, right?
Yeah, but my only thing is that they did come out, I think, today or yesterday and said that they already are writing his next movie. So it is.
I thought Kevin Feige just said Spider-Man 4 is in the works, and that's all that he said.
No, what's her name? Amy Pascal said, she confirmed it. She said, yeah, we're already writing it. We're trying to get this one done sooner than the last one, so you're not waiting as long in between. So because I had the same thing. I thought, oh, wow, we're just going to wipe the slate clean and let
it leaves them that choice, because I think this movie was written while they were still having that.
Yeah, I'm thinking so, too. Which works well, because like if that were the last Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, like I would have loved it. I love those kind of ambiguous endings like that. So I would have been fine with that.
Yeah. And how about that classic OG outfit he has?
Oh, I have chills right
snowing
now.
Christmas time. The really just bright blue,
the shiny blue.
Bright red.
Oh my god!
His Christmas outfit.
Oh, I loved
that
it
was so great.
Much. Super shiny. All of his outfits were great. Like this movie had all the best outfits. He had the classic ones, from Toby and Andrew, and then you had that Inside Out one he did where he pulled his costume inside out because it was stained. And I didn't realize this in the trailers, but it's like I didn't know it was the inside circuitry of the suit itself, which was really cool. It made a cool black and gold design for his outfit. Yeah. So it was awesome. Definitely some of the best Spider-Man outfits, in my opinion, in this one. Anyways, there's a lot to talk about. What else?
Yeah, I was going to ask. I know that you mentioned Miles Morales. Was there any hint of Miles Morales throughout this movie?
Technically, yes.
So, Jamie Foxx was talking to Andrew Garfield, and he's like, you're from Queens. You fight, rich people. You take down powerful people. You're a poor kid. I thought you might be black.
Yep.
Huh.
So maybe you never know.
And Andrew Garfield's like, sorry, man.
Sorry. But there was that hint in Spider-Man: Homecoming where what's his name calls his cousin on the phone, or nephew. Sorry, his nephew on the phone. Glover. Said, Miles, hey.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's been hinted at more than once. We're gonna get him eventually.
Yeah.
How? I don't know.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
For sure. Sorry, Alex. What were you gonna say?
No. That was my question. Was if we're gonna be able to see Miles Morales, that's not a cartoon.
So,
I think so.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Is there anything you were truly shocked by that happened? Like, there's rumors, and it's like, yes, they did it. But is there anything like, wow, I did not think they were gonna do that?
Let's start with you, Josh.
Oh wow, I was like, let me think.
We just haven't heard from you in a while.
Well, I mean, it's just that a lot of the stuff that we've kind of guessed at and was hoping to happen happened. I mean, to me, just including Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I mean, to me, that's all I wanted to happen in this film, and to see if they were going to bring in anybody else from any other universes, But to me, I was satisfied with just that, just to be able to have that happen to where there's a multiverse and they do implement not just the villains but the different Spider-Mans as well. I mean, I guess the only thing I could be, you know, I guess that I kind of fell short for me is that they didn't bring in like Miles or maybe even like
Right,
Noir
yeah.
or Spider Ham or anybody from, you know, maybe like into
The
the
crazier
Spider-Verse.
ones,
But
you know. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and if
I
if
mean,
they were to incorporate the Spider-Man into the universe cartoon and tried to
mhm,
bring a couple of those, kind of be like, hey, this is real. This is real
Yeah. It
too.
might have been too much
yeah,
too, though. Like
Yeah.
it would have been like
yeah,
almost
it
That's
would've
chaos
what
been
it
at
could
that
have been.
point.
Totally.
yeah,
Because
Well,
really, like at the end of the day, this movie was also like kind of like both the redemption and like kind of the final touches, I guess, on the other
The
two Spider-Man.
conclusion.
Like their
yeah,
storylines
right.
were kind of like left open in a way,
mhm,
and this
They
kind of
wrapped up
concluded
yeah,
them.
Yeah,
It
they
was
wrapped
great.
up 3 series at once because
yeah,
there's new stories for Tom Holland's character, but this wraps up the home trilogy
mhm,
really well. It wraps
Mhm.
it up just
yeah,
as much as you need it to, and it gives closure to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, which we didn't get Spider-Man 4 and we didn't get Amazing Spider-Man 3. Posters were
yeah,
already ready for those movies. They had plans to make them. It's not like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I hope they made
yeah,
it one day."
Yeah. So now we actually got it, which is great. I thought they did well with each one.
Mhm.
because
So
even
Well,
with the
and
kudos
as
to them.
oh, go ahead, Josh.
because even
Sorry.
like with the villains, I didn't expect like to have more villains because you have Morbius coming out to where
Mhm.
essentially Vulture's going to be in it or whoever else going to show up in those movies. So it's just like even like the Venom ones, I didn't expect anything new with that. I mean, I just knew
Sure.
maybe the old school ones would be here and nothing new with that.
Makes sense.
I mean, I guess technically we got Venom in
Yeah,
in
the
this one.
post-credit scene. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Whoa,
that's about it.
what? That was going
Oh
to be my next
Yeah,
yeah.
we
question.
can wait on the post-credit scene.
Oh my god. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be
Delay.
here for this. Hold on. Oh my god. That
Sorry,
just,
sir.
dude, I'm a huge Venom fan. I
I would say
love Venom.
spoiler
I
alert,
love
but you
Carnage,
know,
but
hey, spoiler alert.
Spoiler
oh
alert.
wow. Well, okay, so back to
Anyways.
real quick, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
backpedal for a second with the Into the Spider-Verse, and if they did incorporate all of them, maybe by keeping that its own separate thing right now,
Mhm.
it if they were to, let's say, do some of the Spider-Mans from Spider-Verse, maybe that would lessen the impact of bringing in the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
what
Because
I
I
was saying.
feel like people, like, from what I saw, because like I said at the beginning, I looked up spoilers of people who recorded this stuff in the movie theater
Of course.
of them coming through the portals, and people were going nuts. And now, if they were to continue that on and bring in more people, you know, maybe it would be like, okay, I've already gone nuts twice. How many
Well,
more
those
times
Right.
am I going to have to go nuts?
No, the
Yeah,
problem is Spider-Verse doesn't mean anything to so many
yeah,
people.
Right.
It's a
It's not
very
like
niche
all these
film.
other
It's an
yeah,
characters.
amazing film, but it
mhm,
opened to $38 million.
yeah,
Right.
Spider-Man 3 opened to 151 million back in 2004. Adjusted for
mhm,
inflation,
Yeah,
it's pretty close to what this is. People
yeah,
love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Spider-Man 3 was a terrible ending to his run as
absolutely.
Spider-Man.
mhm,
So yes,
Well,
it was nice
and
to
I
have that.
believe that we've discussed this, Trevor, when we were talking about the trailer, is Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker, but not a good Spider-Man. And Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man, but not a good Peter Parker. And then you've got Tom Holland, who can really wrap them both up in one, and then bringing them all together to where they can, I don't know, work together. I never saw it, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
I find this to be so fascinating to do this, because it's not just hitting in nostalgia. It's hitting on what's the right words? I'm you know what I mean? Like it's so
A lot of
weird.
No,
stuff.
it hits the past, but it still precedes Tom Holland's Spider-Man
Okay,
storyline.
yes, exactly. You're still a story is still being made, and
It was a good
it's
mhm.
story.
it,
It
you know,
was.
it sounds like it was a flawless story.
I don't know,
Because
flawless, but it
nobody's
was well
coming.
done.
Nobody,
It was
well,
well done.
nobody's giving me flaws in this movie. I would love to
Well,
know
the
what's the
flaws are gonna
downfall.
the flaws are probably gonna be what happens next. Like what are the ramifications of
Yeah,
people not knowing who Spider-Man is?
Well, I mean,
Like, does that
also
retcon things? Like, just there's other stuff that's gonna
there's
happen.
the slippery slope of timelines. Like,
That too, yes.
mhm,
I was going to wait on this, but just the idea that they plucked this Green Goblin and this Doc Ock and this Electro and this Sandman
Mhm.
and this lizard from different, not the movie versions that we saw. They're actually like Doc Ock says, "Oh, Peter, I was about to kill you." That doesn't happen at the end of Spider-Man 2. He goes down
He
and
sacrifices
gets
himself.
sinks. Yeah,
No,
he
so a little bit about that. So apparently, what I saw online, because I was confused about that too, was that he actually got blipped into this universe, but well before then. I don't know why he kept mentioning that other thing. So I was like, so did he get blipped like while he had him at his throat or something and had a memory of going into the water? I don't know.
that
But
doesn't make any sense for
supposedly,
this
yeah,
movie storyline though.
I don't know. All I know is that yes, they're all from those movies that we saw, and they're all from the moments right before they died.
It's weird because they said different things.
It is
Because
weird, I
Electro
know.
was saying a different version of things, and then Sandman is like, "Hey, both of you guys are dead. I don't know what you like. Green Goblin, you got impaled by your own glider,
Right.
and Doc Ock, you got killed, you drowned and stuff." And
Wait, and
That's
Sandman
weird.
knows all this stuff? That's interesting that Sandman's the guy who's calling this out.
Well,
Well, he
he's
was in their
he's in
universe, so he
Spider-Man
knows.
3,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so
He
he sees the events of 1 and 2, but he's still taken out at different time points. It can't have anything to do with Thanos' snap. That doesn't make any sense within the context.
Oh,
of
I'm
these
sorry if I
storylines.
was using the wrong.
Yeah, you
verbiage.
said blip, and immediately I'm
sorry.
thinking, oh yeah, okay, yeah,
Sorry, I
Thanos
meant
was a
to
part of something.
say. I meant to say whatever you want to call what Doctor Strange did, the magicking. When he magicked them into our reality, they got pulled
Okay.
moments before they died.
Yeah, I guess it's just
Like,
But
random
literally, like, it was set up
sequences
in
of events in
whatever.
those universes.
Yes, which
But
is
even
But
why.
I thought we just had an infinite version of Doc Ock, and they just pulled
Yeah.
one that's available.
No, he was
Yeah, I mean that's
specifically.
what I would
is.
assume.
Well, so the problem with, well, even regardless, it still fits into the timeline narrative of he redeems all of them.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so Doctor Strange said it's their fate. They die for a reason. As you think about it and you realize that's kind of the whole story, that they die for reasons. And it's not, if they don't die, then Spider-Man doesn't change his trajectory. So if Green Goblin goes back into the timeline at the end of Spider-Man 1 and he's now back whole again and he's just Norman Osborn and doesn't have the split personality, he doesn't get impaled, that changes how he interacts with Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, and it changes the whole storyline. Like it messes up all kinds of storylines for all of these movies because they're now redeemed.
Mhm.
Because for me, the question of the biggest surprise was that they killed Aunt May. I did not expect them to kill off Marissa Tomei
You
in
didn't expect
this
that
movie.
from the trailer where they threw the bomb. See, that's the one thing I knew was happening for sure.
I only
was
watched the first trailer.
Yeah, there's
pretty
a
much
moment where
attached
he
to it.
threw the pumpkin bomb into the place where she was, and Happy
Oh yeah,
shows up.
I
and
didn't
like,
watch.
oh,
any
they're
of the
doing the Uncle
follow-up
Ben
trailers.
thing. Okay, yeah, so I kind of knew that was going to happen. So
But I mean, they do that Uncle Ben thing just so she can say, "With great power comes great responsibility," because Tom Holland doesn't get that speech, and so
Right.
that way he can then relate to Toby and Andrew by saying that, and they finish the line for him, and they're like, "How did you know that?" Or he's like, "How did you know that?" Because we've gone through this before, and they're like,
I'm imagining Toby and Andrew Garfield going, "Hey!"
they do that a lot. Yes,
and
not in that
just
moment though, because it was kind of an emotional scene.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Other
but,
scenes.
because her telling him, Tom Holland's like, she died for nothing, and they're saying, no, he died for a reason, or she died for a reason. It's to spur you on to be able to be a better Peter Parker, to be a better Spider-Man, to take what she thought, what she believed in, and do it with your platform and abilities. And so if Green Goblin and all these villains go back reformed and they don't die, and Peter's in conquer them in their individual timelines, the Peters we meet aren't those Peters anymore. They're completely different evolutionary stages.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you mess with timelines, because it's
Time
all about
Wami
fate
stuff.
and having past reasons create who you are today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it does. But anyways, it's a lot to chew on that too. There's gonna be a lot to chew
They
on
do it
after
so
this.
passively, because Tobey Maguire, he's talking to Andrew and he's like, "How are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, me and MJ, we finally figured it out. I have that balance now." And then Andrew Garfield's like, "Gwen Stacy died, and I stopped pulling my punches. I was rageful, and I started just Spider-Man has so much power, and he literally can't use it all." And just to have that idea. I want to watch a Rage Spider-Man where he's just
Oh,
like
we all
that.
do. Like that's like trending on Twitter today. Everyone wants that movie. Yeah. That's funny. Yes, I do too. That'd be really fun. I think he could do it too and pull it off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Andrew Garfield,
That'd be
because
great.
he's an
Yeah.
actor.
He is
Oh
an
yes,
actor.
I do. He is. One note about that line from Aunt May is that they actually used the original line that Stan Lee wrote in the comics. So it was the whole line, not just the
Mhm.
with great power comes great responsibilities, which is kind of nice because I think it kind of changes the meaning a bit where it says there must come. Like that must is different. Like you don't get one without the other. I think it makes it a little bit more impactful. It's not as catchphrasy, but I think it's more impactful for Spider-Man. So yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah.
Like that scene might be my favorite scene that's non-comedy, I guess. And there's a few scenes that are like comedic that I really enjoyed, but like that scene where she dies and he turns around on his hoverboard and like cackles and drives off, like that was so dark. That whole scene, and Tom Holland's like covered in blood and all this, rubble, and Aunt May's
Dang,
dying.
dude.
Like, oh, that was like perfect
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Like that was the dark stuff I used to read as a kid. Like I was like 9 years old and reading that kind of stuff. And
Well,
I was
yeah,
like,
because
this is
Spider-Man,
dark. Like, I like this.
he's like the most traumatic or traumatized. Like in What If,
Always,
they kind of go into it in the zombie episode, where he just everything goes wrong for Peter Parker. If he has any personal
Yep.
connections whatsoever, it's
Yeah.
going to be ruined.
Yep. Yeah, you can blame Dan Slott for a lot of that too. I don't know if you guys read the more recent Spider-Man stuff, but yeah, Dan Slott put him through the ringer and did a lot of those kind of crazy storylines. Like killing him and putting him into the body of Doc Ock was a really good one. And I think I'm really glad they swung for the fences on this, because this is big. Like they did something that was kind of crazy. They kind of retconned a lot of stuff, and I don't know. It'd be really interesting. I wasn't expecting. I think that was my big shock, was that they actually went through with his magical wish. Like I didn't think they were going to do that. I thought they were going to reverse it somehow at the very end. It'd be fine, and that ended up being the crux of it.
Gotcha.
So I was like, wow, they actually went through it. That's a big deal. Like I don't know. That's almost bigger than the multiverse aspect of things, in my opinion. So glad they did it.
Yeah,
Shout
So
out
now
to
nobody-
Willem Dafoe too.
yeah.
When Peter's punching him and he's just laughing more and more manically with each punch, that was so
Loving it.
smart. Like he's such a good Green Goblin. I love that they brought him back, because we only got him in the first movie, and I don't know if anyone can portray it as crazily as he does.
No, I don't think I don't think they're going to ever cast anybody else again. Like, how can you?
Well, they shouldn't.
That was
Yeah.
great.
Because it,
Yeah, that was
to me, it almost felt like how Dark Knight was to DC, to where it took that dark turn to make it more raw and emotional. It feels that Marvel's starting to do that now with these type of movies. Like,
Yeah, I can see that.
Like Endgame was getting there now with this last Spider-Man. It felt like they got raw to allow you to see the true emotion that these heroes go through. To where
I mean,
Tom Holland,
that's phase 4.
yeah.
Well, the fact that you guys just said,
Wanda goes through that, Loki goes through that. That's what they're doing with phase 4.
but the fact that you guys just said that like Spider-Man was covered in blood. I mean,
For the whole second half of the movie.
the
The whole
most
second half. He's like
the
covered in
most
blood.
the most blood that we saw, I feel like, in like the majority of these movies, is like Tony Stark bleeding out of his head a little bit when he snaps his fingers in Endgame. It's like you're going from 20 years or 10 years of movies with no blood to now you've got a Spider-Man covered in blood. That's pretty wild, man.
Making some changes. I had my finger up because I wanted to remember something. Okay, so a point I wanted to make as well about this new phase that Marvel is doing is I feel like, especially now with this one, it really hit the nail on the head for me that this is what they're doing, is that they had their own universe in Marvel, right? Like you have your normal 616 comic book universe that has been established, for decades on decades. And then you have those multiverses, you have video games, cartoon versions of Spider-Man and stuff. And I feel like now that they've kind of had their take on all these different characters, they're kind of going back to the roots of the 616. They gave Wanda her crown and her outfit and called her a witch and gave her the new powers. They gave Spider-Man like that classic classic suit, and kind of made him who he was in the comics. The guy who had, grew up and had his own apartment, and no one really knew who he was yet. And Loki as well. So like he has all of his new powers now. So I feel like that's probably what they're doing moving forward. And I kind of like that. It's kind of neat. Feels even more comic booky than it was before. I feel like before they were not as comic booky as they could have been.
Like it was more like a cinematic universe. Like we've created a cinematic universe. Now we're like trying to bring the comic book to the screen.
Yes.
I can see that.
Yeah, because I mean they're definitive costumes now. It's not like just like something they slapped together in the back room or made sense in battle because it fits better. It's like, no, we're gonna make them look like they did in the comics the best we can. So and bring those storylines in too, which is neat. So all right. I'm trying to think what I missed. I'm sure
you guys kept hinting at an after credits scene too.
Well, I mean, we can get there. One thing I do want to mention
about,
is I am a sucker for the hero shots and the pose shots. Like I know people kind of roll their eyes, but when all three Spider-Men swing through the scene together, that's all I needed. I don't even care. They're all wearing their suits. They're all because first they start off and they, Andrew Garfield swings into Tom Holland's web, and then Toby gets hit in the face by a loose thing, and they're like, "We're not working together." And they're like, "Oh, we've only ever worked as individuals." And Tom Holland's like, "I've been on a team. I was on the Avengers." And they're like, "Cool. Is that like a band or something?" But then they actually come out and they all work together and they do the whole swinging pose, one in the middle and two on the side, and then they land. Tom Holland has this fun little superhero landing pose. That's all I need. I don't even care. Like people complain about those scenes. Oh, it's so fake and choreographed. I'm watching a comic book movie on screen.
Exactly. I want to see that. I want to see the poses on the covers in the movie. Like those are my favorite scenes.
So, okay, when the Spider-Mans are all together and they're talking, do they like explain? Like, for instance, Tobey Maguire is a spider. Like he has the spider stuff come out of his hands.
That. Yeah. Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield are like, you produce the webs are inside of you.
Scene, yes.
Like they do it. They go and talk about something else and they come back to it when they're waiting for all the villains to show up.
Okay, cool. I'm glad that they touch on that because I feel like that's something that kind of needs to.
Oh no, there's a full scene where like Andrew Garfield keeps looking at his hands. Like even when they cut away, he's still like looking at it, like what the heck is wrong with this guy? Like he's creating his own stuff. That's gross.
Does it come out of anywhere else?
That was the best line. Yes. That got a good chuckle out of the audience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Man, I love those superhero poses in those moments. Yeah, that's what gets
iconic scenes. I mean, just Peter right at the relative beginning where he's swinging through the power lines, and then they have that one long exposition shot where it's like kind of dusk and he swings through the whole thing. I'm like, that's like the Spider-Man video game where you can just do that yourself and just pose up the scene. They actually filmed it and did the whole cinematography for it.
Yeah. Oh, it's great to see an IMAX too.
Yes.
Edge to edge. That was great. Really good. I'm telling you, man, I'm sure a lot of it was some of it was nostalgia and some of it was, being in a theater again. But yeah, man, I was like sitting there like straining my eye because like tears coming down my face because I was so like, I don't know, into it.
It's just that movie where you have a big grin. Like I know I'm wearing a mask, but
it's a big grin,
under my face the whole time.
Like this is fantastic. Like I want to say probably the best scene overall, like the best action scene for me was the one in the apartment building. Like we had already kind of referenced it with the hitting Green Goblin in the face and he starts laughing, but like the choreography and that whole thing felt like a Daredevil show. It felt like that grounded, real gritty. Like they were throwing each other through walls and the sides of buildings and through windows and doing all sorts of trick moves with his web slingers. Like where he does that, like that body slam thing.
Yeah, the wrestling body slam where he pulls him up with his webs and then spins him down.
Yeah.
Man, that was good.
Josh, did you have a favorite scene?
I think there was one scene that was kind of for me that I enjoyed was almost a redemption scene, which was for Andrew Garfield's character when MJ falls and he finally got to redeem himself for not saving Gwen Stacy, and when he was able to grab her, he just starts bawling because he did it right the second time.
Oh. Zendaya's like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, like, "Are you okay?"
It's so interesting hearing the fact that these old Spider-Men are interacting with new Spider-Man characters. Like
that was a good scene, Josh.
What you just explained, Josh.
That was money.
My God, I even got a little. I'm picturing it in my head, and I'm going, "Oh my god!"
No, I don't know about you two, but like in my theater, out of everything that happened, that got the biggest reaction. Like people were
Amazing!
so stoked because
Wow.
it was so deserved. Like it was like it made sense. It's like, oh, he
Yeah.
screwed up. Now he knows how to jump properly and catch, and he was able to help save this other MJ. And it's like that was like,
MJ starts
he
falling,
needed that.
and Tom Holland swings in and he gets knocked off course.
Mhm.
And then you know, as soon as that happens, you know what has to happen.
Well,
Yeah.
when I saw the it's a good thing you didn't see the trailer because I had a
Yeah.
feeling that it was going to happen. Like, because in the second trailer, we see MJ fall off and she does the whole Gwen
Yeah.
Stacy thing. And I'm like, oh, well, then for sure we're going to have the redemption arc. He's going to save her. But it was still a great moment,
Oh,
regardless.
I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that. Seeing
Yeah.
the trailer, all I saw was her falling over the edge, and I'm like, "Oh no!"
I'm like, if they didn't do that, I would have been pissed. I was like, you better have Andrew Garfield catch her.
Yeah.
Because that would be so great. And they did. I was like, nice. Well
Wow.
done.
And then also that spider tingle in the apartment where it just is like constant like white noise that gets louder and louder for a while, and
Yes.
then he finally figures out that it's Green Goblin.
Oh,
That was
so
really
good.
good
They
because
finally
he's surrounded
really
by
did
5
that.
super villains.
Yeah. Like, who could it be? He like really had to zero in on what was like. It was such a cool moment too, because like I don't think anyone knew what was happening in the audience either. We're all like, oh god,
I
what's
thought it had
happening?
to do with the lizard outside. That's what I was assuming.
That's what I thought at first too. I'm like, is the lizard going to do something, or are like the SWAT teams coming in? Is the multiverse
Yeah.
opening?
He's
Like, what
the
is
arc
happening right now?
reactor for
Mhm.
Electro
Right.
because the thing's beeping up slowly but
Mhm.
surely. It's getting
It's
to
such a well done
yeah.
scene. It's so tense. I was like, oh my god, what's going to happen?
Now, that's another question that I have about Electro. You guys had mentioned that they get pulled right before they're about to either die or kill Spider-Man or whatever. And that's when they actually get pulled. I saw something about Jamie Foxx who says, "How do you like my new suit?" or something like that. Like,
Oh yeah.
how does that line up? Like, is it?
Well, no, he has the new suit later. That's
Yeah.
when the final battle he
Okay.
has the new suit.
Okay, so
Yeah.
whenever he's like,
But they don't
hanging out
explain
with
away
Doc
how he
Ock or
lost the
something.
glasses and the weird comb over and the bad teeth. They don't explain that away at all.
They don't
just
explain
says,
it, but they do
I look
mention
good.
it.
They
They
do
mention
mention
it,
it.
which
They
is
reference
weird.
it, and that's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
hold on,
Okay.
did he pull a Steve Urkel and Stefan?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much a Stefan move.
That's
He is
pretty
a
much it.
Stefan now.
Oh, that was a good reference. That was a good
Mhm.
reference. So, speaking of the Peter Tingle, there's a really cool scene that kind of opens up a lot of future stuff in the MCU, in my opinion, especially with like in terms of like what Wanda can do. So there's a point where, and you see in the first trailer where Doctor Strange punches the soul out of Peter, like he just separates it, right? So he's hovering above him. And you see the little spider senses coming out of him just faintly. And then he can move his body out of his body. And Dr. Strange's like, no one's ever done that before. You can't
How are
do
you
that.
doing
Like, how is he
Mhm.
doing that? And that kind of confirms that the spider tingle is like something else. It's like something like supernatural in a way, you know? So there's something about
That's
it that
true.
could lead to other things. I don't know what that would mean,
So-
but it's kind of cool to see that.
I mean, just that whole sequence of Doctor Strange fighting Spider-Man. First, where Spider-Man decides to steal the box with the broken spell and's like, no, you can't use it and get rid of all these guys.
Yeah.
For Doctor Strange to open the portals right when Spider-Man swings out and have him come right back and then punch him, that was super awesome. But then to your point, to have Spider-Man just moving the thing and Tom Holland just floating out there,
Yeah.
and then they go to the mirror universe, and that mirror, I love whoever first came up with the idea
To do
to
that?
replicate on screen in the first Doctor Strange, to do all that mirror universe stuff. They've just nailed it every time they put it on screen, and this
The
was no
kaleidoscoping,
exception.
I would say.
Yes.
Right? Like the kaleidoscope, and it's so good. It looks so
It's
nice.
so good. And then the
So
fun
nice.
part is they're on the subway rail, and it's just like Into the Spider-Verse where they're going into the collider and everything's messed up, and he fights Kingpin on top of the
It
subway
is.
line.
It's very
And
much
it's the
exactly
same
like that.
thing. Yeah, love
Kinda
that.
cool. There's so many references to the other movies.
Mhm.
It's insane. Like there's so many little callbacks. The little tram from the first Spider-Man movie is in it for a hot second, where he's up with MJ at the top of the tower.
Yeah.
Not tower, the bridge. Like little things like that, like all throughout the movie. You're like, oh my god, there's that.
Yeah.
They even do that. They even do the meme at one point where they
Mhm.
say, "Hey, Peter." And they'll go, "Yes." What, this Peter? Me? This? Wait, who's Peter Parker? I'm Peter Parker. You're Peter Parker?
So do we, in the movie, we pretty much stick with our universe. We never step foot into anybody
Correct.
else's universe.
Right. It's all the MCU. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
Cool.
guess in a way we briefly. No, I guess not. Never mind. I was gonna say we briefly see Andrew Garfield, but no, he was in our reality at that time.
Yeah, just down
Yeah.
the alleyway
Yeah,
They
somewhere.
just
right.
found out where he was
Yeah.
at.
And I think it was kind of cool that we got to have the two other Spider-Men meet each other and the friends first before meeting.
Tom Holland, yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
good. Like it would have been so corny otherwise.
Mhm.
Like it really built up that emotional scene because he had just lost Aunt May. So
Yeah.
it gave them that moment to be like, okay, we're meeting our other selves at our most vulnerable moment in our own history. Like that was powerful. That was good stuff. And a fun scene too.
How did that work? How did that work bringing them
Wow,
in?
that's another key point. There's so much that happens in this movie.
Mhm.
So, what's his name? God, I always forget his name.
Ned.
Friend Ned. Thank you. So Ned stole the sling ring from Doctor Strange.
Or Peter steals it and gives it to him.
Peter gave it to him, but he has the sling ring, and I guess he did a movement or something, and he saw sparks fly. He's like, "Uh-oh, what's this?" And
They're
then
doing the handshake.
He did the hand thing, and he was able to open a portal. So he has magic. So he opened the portal looking for Peter Parker, but ended up finding the wrong Peter Parker. That's how we
Because
got
all
there.
he's doing is looking for Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And then you can see the Spider-Man, and you can tell the suit's different. You can tell he's tall.
Yeah,
and
as soon as that
lankier.
happened, I'm like, oh, yeah. Here we go. Buckle up.
Him coming through it, man. There's nothing. Seeing that for the first time, no matter what speculation or trailers or anything like that, seeing that for the first time within the context of that movie, you can't beat that.
That's
Yeah.
choice. That was choice. The theater was nuts. They're like, oh yeah, everyone knew. So good. But like their interaction, that scene was like so much fun too. Like trying to figure out, what their abilities are, and then making him crawl on the ceiling like Spider Pig.
To get this,
To get the spider
she
web.
throws the bread at him. Don't you have the speeder
She
jingle?
keeps
Not
throwing
for bread.
Wait, what?
So they're at his grandmother lives with Ned, and his grandmother's sick of these like Spider-Man showing up at her house, I guess. So she keeps throwing bread at them.
No, MJ's throwing the bread.
Okay.
Oh, was it
Yeah,
MJ? I'm
MJ
sorry, I thought
Yeah,
it was
MJ's
the
throwing the bread. And she's like, "Prove that
Oh,
you're
that was
Spider-Man."
funny.
And he's like, he jumps on the roof and he just holds his hand on the roof.
Yeah,
And she's like, "That's not enough." Crawl on the ceiling. And she's
And
throwing
of course,
bread at
I'm
him.
like, yes, do it. And he did it.
And then the grandma's like, "While you're up there, can you get that spider web in the corner?" So he crawls across the ceiling and gets the spider web down.
Wait, and this is Andrew Garfield?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
Andrew
so-
Garfield just owned it the whole time.
Dude,
He
that's
did.
so
He's
funny
great.
that he played it up.
Oh yeah, he had so much fun. It looked like
Yeah, he did
in
good.
this. It is really
Okay,
good.
we've
Yeah.
hit an hour. I want to hear about this after credit scene.
Oh,
So there's two after credit scenes. And the second one is probably the best after credit scene of any Marvel movie ever, bar none. It's not even close, actually. But we'll start with the first one. The first one is Venom based. And at first, it's just Eddie Brock talking to Danny Rojas. Shout out
Eddie
to Ted Lasso
Brock.
fans. And he's explaining what's happened in the MCU, pretty much. That there was Iron Man, and there's the big purple guy who blipped out everybody for 5 years, all that kind of good stuff. And so Venom's trying to figure this out. And then all of a sudden, he gets sent back by Doctor Strange's spell as well. He's like, "Oh, I need to go to New York, and I got to go find Spider-Man." And he's gone. And then there's a little tiny bit of black goop on the bar, which lets them, the MCU, have access to Venom without having to use Eddie Brock. It's brilliant.
exactly. Like here's your card. Here you go. Here's your
Wait,
key.
so they had Tom Hardy?
They
Yeah,
did.
and they're not using him
Yeah.
anymore. They're done with Tom Hardy, or at least the MCU is.
What?
Sony can
Yeah,
do whatever they want with Tom Hardy.
So there you go.
Oh!
So, yeah, Sony gave the
Symbiote is
keys
there.
over to him.
Exactly. Like okay.
Oh, Topher Grace is coming back, baby!
No.
I hope not.
Oh, that's who we
Topher
missed in this movie. That's who it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Do you think that he was maybe asked and he was like, "Yeah, no, that's not gonna
No, I
work
don't
for
think
me."
so. No.
No.
No, so there was 5 villains because there's 5 Spider-Man movies. So they picked one from each one. They picked
Yeah, that makes sense.
Stan-Man for Spider-Man 3.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So there you go. Would have been too
Wah,
confusing, I
wah.
think, too, to have
What
him
if
in
they-
this.
If
Yeah.
Topher Grace came through a portal,
No, just
Is that-
because of the whole Venom thing, I think it would have been too confusing for people. That's all.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. You guys
Trevor
hinted
left
at a
us.
second one now. Let's hear about this second one.
So the second one isn't connected to Spider-Man, but it is connected to the key part of Spider-Man, which is Doctor Strange, and it was the first trailer for Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse. And honestly, I love having the first trailer for the next movie in the series being the worldwide release as the stinger for the previous movie.
It's great. It's like Back to the Future Part 3 after Back to the Future Part 2.
Oh God, that's right.
So much
where they
fun. It was
showed-
like, oh, here we go. Yeah.
yeah.
What's next?
I mean, that Doctor Strange trailer, I know this is a Spider-Man movie, but just for him to come up to Wanda and say, I don't want to talk about Westview, it fits right into what Kevin Feige said, that you don't have to watch the Disney Plus
True.
shows to
It's true.
follow along with the
Yeah.
MCU movies.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
It's like, I need your help. Okay.
So I wasted my freaking time. Cool. Okay.
Yes, you did.
Maybe.
And so that
Uh,
trailer, though, it ends with evil Doctor Strange. And in the
Mhm.
I can't
course
believe
of
they
that,
revealed that. Oh my god.
in the course of that
Just means
Doctor
it's
Strange
fine.
trailer, there's a bunch of tentacles that come flying out of him. I don't know if it's the what if version of Doctor Strange, but it is pretty close.
Oh my god, that was so nice. Oh my god. When I saw
What?
that, I'm like, oh my god, they're doing this. This is great. This is
Yeah,
gonna be
man.
so
Evil
fun.
Doctor Strange, I'm all
You just
in
have to go
for.
watch it, Alex. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it.
Well,
Well,
when
I mean,
saw
go
when
ahead.
I saw Wanda in the trailer when she was in her full getup and then like
The
the,
full
whole
suit,
seance
yeah.
circle thing. Oh my god, I had to stop myself because I was standing up. I was like ready to shout at the screen. It's like I shouldn't embarrass myself in the theater, so I sat back down. But that was very nice to see.
That Doctor
Very
Strange,
excited.
it looks really good.
It does
Yeah,
it
it needs
does.
to
Looks
come
like a
out
lot of fun.
already.
Yes, it's
Well,
not coming until May. Jeez.
too long.
That's
Yeah.
not that long from now. Holy
No, it's
mackerel!
Too long.
Too long. Yeah.
Hey,
Why
they
now?
didn't say. Hey, stay tuned till next Christmas.
That's true, I guess.
Imagine if they said
Thanks.
that.
Might as well.
Imagine if they said
Might as
2023.
Any final thoughts? Because there's a lot to talk about. We don't have to
So,
talk about this forever.
In the purple cloud thing that Doctor
Mhm.
Strange is trying to close,
Yeah.
there's all those silhouettes, and I wanted to pause in the worst way, but the one certain thing was it looked like they were other Spider-Man villains. It wasn't necessarily
Yeah.
any
Yeah, it looked
potential
like-
multiverse thing. So it looked
Yeah.
like Kraven and Rhino
Yep.
for sure.
Mhm.
Yep. It also looked like Scorpion. So there's like at least a few.
Oh.
So I'm like, I don't think that we were seeing too many other ones. Like I didn't see like X-Men in there. I didn't see anything like that or Fantastic
Yeah, a lot
Four.
of the
So it looked like it was
silhouettes
mostly
had
it was the
visible.
Spider-Verse specific
Yeah.
characters because they knew Peter. You know,
Yeah.
that makes sense. They knew who Peter was. So. Cool. That was really
Let's-
neat.
Well, let's hope they bring back Paul Giamatti. Giamatti.
I like the guy, but I did not care for his Rhino.
Yeah.
No, the mech Rhino.
No,
Yeah.
did not care.
Andrew
not
Garfield
once.
makes fun of that.
Yeah,
Does he
does.
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my god, it's so funny. Like I could bring up almost anything from any of those movies, and they're
They
they
brought
did
it
it.
up. Yeah.
They
I
did it.
mean,
They really did.
Just I thought James Franco might show up, but even just so Toby's talking to Ned and he's like,
Yes,
Ned
the
asked
scene.
him about his best friend. He's like, "Oh yeah, I had a best friend. He died in my arms after he tried to kill me." And Ned just has this
like-
blank expression.
Think it would've
And
been-
he has
A
to
long time.
apologize to Tom Holland like the rest of the time.
Oh, it's so great. Like, no, I'm not gonna kill you. No, don't worry. But it does because his memory's wiped. It does set up the possibility. that he
It
could.
does.
That's
Yep.
true.
Do you think that Ned could possibly become Kingpin?
No, because
No.
I don't want to say anything
You might as well, Prague.
What? You're in the
Alright.
spoiler section of our show.
It's not a
because it's
spoiler
not
of
a
Spider-Man.
spoiler. It's not a spoiler for Spider-Man. But on the
Yep.
last episode of Hawkeye, it was revealed that Vincent D'Onofrio is returning to the MCU.
I'm just kidding. I took
So
off
no,
my
he
head.
will not be the Kingpin.
Okay.
And which makes sense since Charlie Cox is back.
Yeah.
That,
And
Kingpin
Vincent
is amazing.
D'Onofrio is such an amazing kingpin. It's
Yeah.
It's,
You don't want to be
yeah.
Fits the
anybody else.
mold.
Well, you're not going to recast that. That's for sure.
And so
Yeah.
one other cool
Sorry,
point
Alex.
was just interestingly after Tom Holland got kind of met Electro for the first time, his hair's standing on end, and I'm just at certain angles, it's kind of shadowy. He looks a lot like Andrew Garfield. It was the
Yeah.
weirdest
Okay.
thing.
So I noticed that too, and I was like,
And then later,
kind of
they're in the
weird.
research lab, and Tom Holland has the goggles over his face, and they're like the dark blackened goggles for the black light or whatever. And the bottom half of his face looks just like Tobey Maguire. I'm like, this is just weird now.
This is weird.
I don't know if they're
It's
doing
weird.
After Effects stuff or what.
No, but that scene for sure, that first one. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I went, wow, he looks a little bit more like Andrew Garfield here.
I noticed
than
it
himself.
before. That's what was so weird.
Weird, man. What about like anyone hear a cell phone during that scene?
Oh, do you like that
I
story?
didn't.
So in that scene, I went again to the movie on Thursday, and it's all dark right then. There's a little sand kicking up in the background. You don't know Sandman's there yet. Peter's all like has his essentially stealth suit on. It's perfect silence. All of a sudden, the phone rings, and I'm like, "Is that's that guy right down there, right?" That reminds me why I hate going to the movie theaters. I like being at home to watch the movies.
Mhm.
And then I was like, maybe it was in the movie. I don't know. So then I saw it again on Sunday. The same exact scene. The dust kicks up in the background. He's wearing the suit. The phone is about right there, Ned and MJR on the chest, and the phone rings. I'm like, okay, it has to be on the film. But now, probably Josh, you're telling me there's no cell phone ringing in that sequence.
I didn't hear it.
Did I go to two different theaters in two different places on 2 different days, and the phone rings in the same exact scene?
That's
Something's showing
wild.
you. I don't know.
That's when the blip happens.
Yeah.
Yes,
review.
exactly.
That's wild.
What happened
Oh
in
my
this
God.
timeline right there?
Where'd I go?
Well,
That's
cool,
fun.
guys. I
It's good to
mean,
be back in theaters. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe I'll
And a
look
good
up
one.
like a matinee or something like that and put on
Do
a
it.
hazmat
Yeah.
suit because
Do it.
I mean, I did say when we watched the trailer that this was going to be my first movie to watch back in the theaters, and I still stand by that. I just wish that the pandemic wasn't ramping back up right
Oh,
now.
I know. I agree.
You know, if the pandemic wasn't where it's at right now, I would have been there this weekend somehow.
Well, luckily
Well,
the
go to a
pandemic's
matinee.
not that bad right now. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Get your booster shot.
Exactly. If you're vaccinated, you're fine, dude.
If you're double vaccinated with the booster shot,
Dude, I went in there and I licked the seat before I sat in it. It's
I
fine.
believe that.
It's fine.
You probably saw butterscotch down there, you old man.
Mm.
You're old and getting
Where there's
senile.
originals, I gotta have them from my pockets. All right.
Yeah, let's wrap it up,
Let's
boys.
wrap it up because it was really fun to have you on, Josh.
Josh,
Yeah,
Oh,
talk Spider-Man with you.
thanks.
really good
Good
to
to
have
see
you
ya.
back, buddy. Hey,
Yeah, it's
if
not too
people want to
bad.
find you, why don't you give them your socials?
Yeah, where do I find you? I haven't seen you forever.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember with them, I think it's like Lopez_Josh24. I don't
He
know.
doesn't post anymore.
I don't know.
You still use any of them?
Occasionally,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I'll reply to people.
So what he's saying is, don't find him. Just don't.
Don't find me. You got that's the thing.
Exactly.
Find them in the
Don't think they're
multiverse.
heroes.
That's right.
Very cool, man. Well, thanks for coming back on, man.
Oh, no, thank y'all for letting me come back on.
Hey,
Always
you're
a
one of
good
the
time.
Godfather. You're one of the
Yeah.
Godfathers. One of the
Thank you.
originals. For the new viewers, new listeners, Josh has been around a long time.
Yeah, I've been around the block. or
he's
two.
like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Coming on back. All
Did
right,
you
boys.
guys like the Statue
Oh.
of Liberty with the Captain America shield? Just
That was fine. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't really get to see
Yes.
much of it because it's too much
Yeah.
scaffolding. But it's
do you
fine.
think it's funny the idea that they would do that?
Oh, totally funny. I mean, it's totally a comics book thing to do. Like they do that
Yes.
kind of stuff in the comics all the time. Like that was hilarious. Like, yeah, okay.
But then it was so easily ripped off once they.
Yeah, I know. And then it fell apart in 2 seconds. Oh.
Well, if it had scaffolding around it, wasn't it still being built?
Yeah, no,
I
they're
guess
doing
that's true.
construction on it, and
Yeah.
that's the fun thing. Whenever Sandman appears, it has to have a fight in a construction site. That's just what you have to do. So he has a lot of sand at his disposal. And again, they went to a big metal statue to fight somebody who's literally conducts electricity.
Yeah, not
Mhm.
I don't know how he didn't just fry all of them immediately, but whatever.
That would
He
have
has
been like
Tony
done.
Stark's arc
Barbecue.
reactor on his chest.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Well, and
it's
it's
So
on an
that's-
island too. Anyways,
that's
I
the
don't.
movies for you.
Shout out to Doc
Hey,
Ock,
don't think
though.
too hard.
No logic.
Hollywood.
Doc Ock got redeemed early on, and he actually saved him from Electro.
Yeah.
Mhm. It looked like it was gonna be the opposite. Yeah.
Cool. So everybody, see Spider-Man: No Way Home. However you can, find some stream. If you're waiting for like services you pay for streaming, you might as well give up.
Yeah. Don't.
Sony has the worst deals when it comes to streaming. They literally have no idea. You can't watch hardly any of the other Spider-Man movies, especially if you
Sony
want to watch
sucks.
the Andrew
It's like the
Garfield or
worst
Tobey
company.
Maguire movies. You can't watch Venom. It's not available anywhere. Venom 2 still doesn't even have a date of when it's going to be streaming anywhere. Sony has no clue.
Yeah, don't buy Sony. Step away.
Just spend the monies.
Go to the theater.
Cool.
That's all we got.
So everybody, that's Spider-Man No Way Home. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, Prague out.
See ya.
Adios, y'all.